Hey, hi.
Hello.
Welcome to Relationship Rehab with Lee
and Paul. Hey.
And we do that on the radio.
That's right.
That's fun. That's exactly how I introduce it too. We're so excited to be here with Mingle Media. Fresh start,
That's
new
right.
beginnings.
This is our first show here.
Yes, and we're really excited. Very excited to be part of this new family, this new way of looking at things, making TV social, and I love that.
Yep.
So thank you again to the founder and our executive producer, Cougar Mama.
Yeah.
Don't forget to record. Gotcha.
We're recording.
Okay.
So, yes.
Coffee. Yes.
Coffee.
So.
You need more coffee?
No.
Oh.
Well, yeah, I'm going to probably need more coffee, but not
so.
right now. So, we're Lee and Paul from coupledom.com, and what we talk about, if this is the first time you're visiting us, is relationships, all kinds of relationships. We talk about marriage.
Oh.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I see. Marriage.
Ahead.
Let's see. Parenting. Parents. Friends.
Sex.
Sex. We talk about sex.
We talk about sex.
We have been known to.
Because it's coupling, obviously,
Right.
you know, and one of the biggest relationships that you have is your relationship with yourself, and we talk about that a lot.
Right.
And you can't. I mean, it's like if you're no good with yourself, you're not going to be much good to anybody.
Really,
else.
all of these relationships end up boiling down to your relationship with yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the other day we have a radio show on the internet also that plays in Kansas, and we're very big in Kansas.
Big in Kansas.
But one of the things, you know, somebody had asked a question about, you know, self-esteem, and you know, and I'm like, well, what a fancy word of saying I don't like myself.
Mm-hmm.
And people forget that because we use all these other terms to, I don't know, fluff over really what the meat is. So when we say things like, you know, your self-esteem is no good, it means you don't like yourself.
You're right.
You know, and it's like, so if you don't like yourself, what is the rest of the world going to do with you?
Mm-hmm.
Not much, you know, because that's what you put
not
out.
like you either.
I, however, love you.
Yeah. And I love me. Which is more important.
Which is more important. Anyway, let's see, how many people we got here? Oh, hello. Go Kansas, that's right.
Yep.
Let's see, we're talking about addiction today.
Yeah, we figure since this is our first show on Mingle Media, we need to bust out our A game. So, things you need to know. Lee is a therapist.
Yes.
Okay? And not only that, but when it comes to therapy, addiction is like her thing. She's a certified addiction professional. You're a, what's a SAP?
A substance abuse professional, but a substance abuse professional is actually a national categorization. I'm actually certified to do things like if you have a drunk pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that he has to go to to get therapy.
Yeah.
And there's only a handful of us in the country.
Yes. So.
And when I say a handful, it's a big handful, but you know,
So,
it's not that big.
Yeah, it's not a big handful.
It's not a big handful.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get my butt all situated.
And even I've worked in the whole substance abuse profession, more from the operations end. But yeah, I've seen my stuff, and also, I come from a long line of addicts of one sort or another, so it's in my genes. Okay.
That is very true.
Yes. And I may share a little bit during the show.
And you want him to, because it's interesting sharing.
So we wanted to bust out our game, something that we really know.
Just, you know, in case, also, if it's your first time, I'm also a regular kind of therapist, too. I work with marriages and families and stuff like that. That was my first incarnation as a therapist. And funny how you're working with marriage and family, and you're almost like driven to work with addiction. Because it comes up in so many ways and in so many people in a family and in different ways too. So it's time to bust out the myths of addiction. It's time to really get clear on what addiction is.
Right.
You know, we've really gotten everything muddled when it comes to addiction. I mean, I just finished watching some of the Tiger Woods apology, whatever the hell that was. What it looked like was a shock video by Tiger Woods. The guy looked really messed up. I'm gonna hold my opinions on that one, but there's a really good addiction example for the world.
Right.
And what we probably don't know yet is all the multiple addictions that have come from that. So.
And then after she sips some coffee, I'm going to go fill up the coffee.
And fill up my addiction.
That's right. By the way, little side note, caffeine is the number one addictive substance.
Right. But technically, so I don't want to jump ahead because there's a lot of technical stuff to this, but I want to talk about what actually pertains to the human being, you, me, in our everyday life, and what addiction is. So we define it basically, how we start this game. You didn't know I was a substance abuse professional? Oh wow, impressive. See, the certified addiction professional, that's a Florida certification. Substance abuse professional, yeah, that's a bigger one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Yeah, that one, but it's, I'll tell you the truth. It's all about test taking, and I'm really good at that. So, I just have a thing.
We both test well.
We test well. So it's like any license, you need me to get, pool contractor. Oh wait, you got that.
I got that one.
That's our addiction.
That's
licenses. Right. Yeah, Paul and I together have so many initials after our name that.
Yeah, at one point we needed bigger business cards.
Yeah, we got the 3x5s instead. Okay, so how do we define addiction? Impaired control over a drug. How simple is that? That's really the definition. That's what we call, okay, this is what addiction is.
Right.
You just don't know how to control it. Okay? Now, we get a little bit muddled when we start talking about drugs. Okay? Because when we go drugs, okay, does drugs include alcohol? Well, technically no. When we talk about substances, then alcohol is included.
Right.
Okay? So I don't want to get into all the technical shit because that's like, that's the mind fucking that us therapists do and trying to delineate, how bad this person is or what kind of addiction this is. And this is all, coding for insurance companies.
Right.
So what's important to you as a human being is, are you addicted to something? Do you have a problem?
Right. It's the impaired control part that of that definition is more important, I think.
Right. Okay, so what I like to break it down to, when you talk about an addiction, is an addiction is basically a behavior where you continue to do something that's caused you problems in the past. Okay? You get what I'm saying here? So, let's back it up. Okay. Most people who get DUIs, do they continue to drink and drive? No, they don't. Are they alcoholics? No, they're not.
Right.
Now, did they get in trouble? Yes.
Right. Have they had problem with alcohol at some point?
Yes.
Sure.
And by definition, if you went by definition from Alcoholics Anonymous, that would make them an alcoholic.
Right.
But technically, they're not. Okay? Just because you've gotten in trouble and you've had problems with alcohol doesn't make you an alcoholic. This is why a lot of us like get out of college and think, oh God, we're alcoholics. I mean, come on. Like, think back in the day when
Yeah.
back in the day when, you were in college and you were drinking. And I remember really clearly when I graduated from college thinking, okay, that's it. I'm an alcoholic. I've got a problem because I'm drinking way too much. And so I stopped.
Right.
I totally stopped drinking. Well, that proved I wasn't an alcoholic. But it took me a while to figure that out. Because I was like, oh, no, I have a problem. Because when I drink, I drink.
That's right.
And so I went 4 or 5 months no drinking. And I'm like, okay. So if I was an alcoholic, I'd be like, what right now? craving.
Oh yeah.
Jonesing for another drink. And I never had that problem.
Right. Yeah.
You did.
A little bit. Maybe a little bit. But no. I mean,
no, but the difference
likewise,
is...
I basically did the... Can't say it stopped because, I still have my it. Don't worry about it. It's catching
okay,
up.
that's a really bad picture of me right there.
I don't think it actually stopped. It's just my computer, so we keep going.
Okay, that would look really bad. Anyway,
yeah.
So all that very important stuff. Another way that we know that you're probably addicted is that everything that you do, all your thoughts are based on how to continue your unhealthy relationship or unhealthy behavior.
Right.
Okay? So it's all about, if you're sitting there, you're like, okay, when's my next drink? When's my next hit? Where can I score some more? And let's get out of the drug thing, because honestly, we're relationship rehab.
Right.
And yeah, there are a lot of people out there that are addicted to substances, but we're more concerned with people who are addicted to relationships and sex.
Right. We're really only going to use substances as kind of a reference because people understand what it looks like to be an alcoholic or
exactly. So, but when we say things like you're a relationship addict or you're an or a sex addict, we get all like, okay, how the hell can you be addicted to that? It's not like you're going to get a DUI for being a relationship addict, or you're not going to get busted for doing well, you could get busted for doing an illegal sexual transaction.
This is true, right?
Yes, you can. Just know that you can. Not that I know anything about that.
But oddly enough, with sex addiction, that is one of the wake up call kind of things. Is
getting busted.
Getting busted, just like with alcohol.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just saying.
Just saying. Okay, so addiction has two parts to it. You have the psychological part and the physiological part.
Right.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Physiological part.
Oh,
what you got? Bust out the good stuff.
So, first things to know though, because this is something that Lee and I have talked about a lot in just between us, is just because you understand the physiological part does not negate the psychological part.
Right.
Likewise, the psychological part does not negate the physiological part. It's just a different way of looking at the same thing. So, let's see. By way of the brain chemistry, you have your neurochemicals that neurotransmitters, right? That kind of run the brain. The major one that we're talking about is dopamine. When it comes to addiction, it's all about dopamine. It's about whether you're increasing the amount of dopamine, whether you're just making it easier for the brain to get more dopamine sucked into it, or whether you're removing things that would, or whether you're adding things that look like dopamine. But what dopamine does is it gives you that happiness. That is that I'm so happy, ecstasy, euphoria feeling right there.
Actually, we have 6 neurotransmitters involved in addiction. Dopamine is the king on that one. But you have GABA, you have norepinephrine, epinephrine, endorphins, and serotonins. Now, obviously, by just hearing the words, you know what an endorphin is. Endorphin is that rush. Endorphin is that, you know what I'm talking about. Endorphins is what you release when you have an orgasm. Endorphins is what you release when you're experiencing pure joy. Serotonin levels are tantamount to maintaining mental health. Without proper serotonin levels, you you cannot maintain balance.
Right.
I'm not even saying happy. I'm just saying balance. Lower serotonin levels mean depression.
Right.
Okay? So when you have your dopamine, when you're doping your dopamine, how's that? What happens is, okay, let's May I?
Go.
You're gonna let me go?
Whatever you want.
All right then.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you have your dopamine receptor. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and here's your dopamine. Once they connect, then you have that connection, and you feel what? Happy.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's good.
Right.
Life is good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then to maintain that happy, sometimes we do things like do drugs.
Right.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so then here comes that drug. Now it might not fit
Right.
exactly.
Different drugs do different things.
Right.
But they all have the same basic idea.
Right. So let's say that you're taking what? Cocaine.
Okay.
What the hell? It's going to basically fit itself into that dopamine receptor. Okay? And when it fits in there, it's going to like pretty much screw it up a little bit. So all of a sudden the dopamine receptor gets a little bit wonky.
Right.
And what ends up happening is that you have that little rush of happiness and it kind of goes away.
Or then other ones just do a bunch of dopamine and try to fill up way
Right.
too many.
Right. Or the problem is that you've already, and now the dopamine no longer really fits in here.
Right.
So you're not getting that happy on your own anymore. So you got to do more drugs to fit that messed up. I was going to say something else. Receptor. And so then what we do, and this is a theory that's been out there for a few years, is the idea of scarring your pleasure and reward system
Right.
in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why when people stop doing their substances, they get so depressed because they can't feel the happy anymore because the neurochemicals don't fit right,
Right.
until you fix, until time heals your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's the physiological stuff.
Right.
The physiological stuff is that, they've seen it under microscopes. This is not something like,
Right.
here's a theory. They've seen this. Okay? There's a lot of people out there that don't believe in addiction. There's a lot of people out there that think that it's a question of willpower.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people out there that think, like, oh, I can quit anytime, that this is no big deal. No, you have messed up your system. Now, how does that relate to sex? Because let's face it.
Actually, hang on.
Wait.
Law Angel. Absolutely. What you were saying is it relates to your ex-boyfriend. Or your ex. What happened is when you first fell in love with him, dopamine just flooded your brain. And it kept doing that over and over and over. Now, that's great. Love is wonderful, but there's...
Love is a drug.
Love is a drug, right. And as it turns out, there are more brain chemicals that are supposed to follow after that maintains the long-term love, that maintains the intimacy. And this is all, like I said before, there are brain chemicals that do this. That does not necessarily mean that that it makes the